Alright, guys, welcome to Flav Oriana's MMA show. I'm your host, Flav Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Alright, guys, so UFC Vegas 67 is officially in the books. It was headlined by Sean Strickland versus Nassourdine Imavov. Now, that wasn't supposed to be the original main event. That was actually supposed to be Kelvin Gastelum. But Gastelum ended up having an injury during fight week. I wasn't sure if it was a staph infection or not, but it was labeled as a mouth injury. Take it for however you want to take it as. But if you saw the pictures online, you would see, it just looked pretty disgusting. Anyways, okay. Main event, decent fight. All right. Sean Strickland actually makes history as the first fighter since Tito Ortiz, which is about some 20-something years ago or something around that nature. He becomes the first fighter since Tito Ortiz to headline back-to-back UFC events. Now, he headlined the last card of 2022, which was headline of Strickland versus Jared Cannonier, and he lost and took the fight, I believe, on 5 days' notice. Wasn't going to make 185. So they ended up making this as a light heavyweight bout. Strickland came in at 204 pounds, and Nassourdine Imavov ended up coming in at 194. So there was a 10-pound discrepancy. I think that definitely did have something to play with. Also, in my opinion, the stylistic matchups between Kelvin and Sean Strickland are two totally different styles. I think that also could have played a factor in Nassourdine's, ability and how he ended up fighting against Sean Strickland. I do think that Strickland had the right game plan, and look, the man ended up just throwing the jab and applying pressure, and he ended up applying that within 5 minutes. I mean, Strickland is somebody that can go all 5 rounds, and this was Nassourdine Imavov's first 5-round main event, first main event actually as well too. I think that we saw some holes in Nassourdine Imavov, and not to say that he's never going to get into the top 5 or anything like that, but what we were anticipating with Kelvin Gastelum, right? I had anticipated that Nassourdine Imavov was in a smush Gastelum. I mean, Gastelum hasn't won a fight since, I don't know. It had to be like 2019 or something. No, not 2018. I'm sorry about that. The Ian Heinisch fight, that was in 2021. You got that one fight. You got that one win. That was actually the same night that Usman ended up facing Gilbert Burns. It was a very weird UFC pay-per-view, and that pay-per-view had what was it? Alexa Grasso and Macy Barber as the co-main event on a pay-per-view card. Those are some weird times, guys. Some weird times, but. Anyways, getting back to it, I did think that after the Imavov was going to be able to smush Kelvin Gastelum. I had a lot of questions as for how this stylistically was going to go with Sean Strickland. Two totally different fighters. Strickland likes to use the jab to utilize a lot of his attack. I know he'll go with the T-kick and stuff like that, but we were able to see Strickland, apply pressure, and that pressure ended up breaking down Imavov in the later rounds, and it showed. I mean, at one point, I think I saw Strickland, in round 4, outlanding Imavov in the significant strike factor by at least 17 significant strikes of a difference. I'm like, that's a lot right there. That is a lot. I mean, but what's it called? Strickland gets a very, crucial win. He was on a 2-fight losing streak coming in, losing to Alex Pereira and Jared Cannonier. If he would have lost, I think that would have set him back heavily, in my opinion, in the middleweight division, just because the middleweights are slowly climbing up. I mean, we got Roman Dolidze, who somebody that I'm very high on, entering of last year. The man ends up, getting big victories over Jack Hermanson, Phil Hawes. Who else did he end up getting victories over? But he had very, strong victories over these people. Which lands him a fight with Martin Vettori for later this year. And I think Strickland, if he would have lost against Nassourdine Imavov, I mean, the man was going to be fighting the bottom 15 of the like 10 to 15 range of the middleweight division. I mean, he would have been facing people like Kelvin Gastelums. Possibly would have been fighting Phil Hawes, people like that, but I don't think Phil Hawes is anywhere near close to getting ready. Would have never fought anybody like Chris Curtis, because that's his best friend, and they both train together, so that's never going to happen. But very, very good victory for Sean Strickland. In other news, I mean, we had a co-main event, Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. Now, Dan Ige, that man has had a murderous role at the featherweight division, and Damon Jackson, he actually came off a good victory in his previous fight after the death of his brother. Man ended up following through with the fight camp, was able to get a good knockout, and was able to pursue forward. Dan Ige, the man has had a very tough road. I mean, the man ended up fighting guys like Calvin Kattar in 2020, Josh Emmett in 2021. I mean, I gotta look over. I just want to be able to just remind people how tough this guy's road is in the featherweight division. Just gonna pull up Tapology real quick, or actually no, you know what? This guy fought Masver Eloyev. All right, I'm sorry if I butchered his name. That was in 2022. Lost to the Korean Zombie. Lost to Josh Emmett. Defeated Gavin Tucker. I mean, we kind of saw that coming. The man lost to Calvin Kattar, and guess when Calvin Kattar was on a roll until he ran into Max Holloway. He defeated Edson Barboza. He defeated Mirsha Bektic in 2020. But I mean, the man fought pretty much the top of the division, and whenever he fought the top of the division, Dan Ige just ended up getting the wrong end of the stick. And Damon Jackson is on the up and coming. These two squared off, and honestly, I favor Dan Ige just because Dan Ige doesn't lose to nobodies. All right, and I'm not saying that Damon Jackson is a nobody, but he put Damon Jackson out. That left hook, clean left hook, which just slipped it in underneath the guard. Bam. Jackson fell, fell back first, hit the pavement, similar way towards how Stipe ended up getting knocked out by Francis. And I'm like, Dan Ige is a gatekeeper. He's a gatekeeper for the top 10. He's a gatekeeper for the top 15. If you can't get past Dan Ige, you're not going to get very far in the featherweight division. And it just showed that Damon Jackson was just not ready to fight higher, stiffer competition that's not Dan Ige. In other fights on this card, yes, Raquel Pennington versus Ketlin Vieira. I'll be honest, wasn't a fight that I was heavily interested into, but Raquel Pennington gets the victory. It was a split decision. It was a fight that we kind of pretty much predicted with Pennington and Vieira. Pennington is on a 5-fight win streak. She's asking for a title shot against Amanda Nunes. My personal opinion is that I don't think she deserves it. I think that she needs one more victory, and I think the person that she should be fighting, in my opinion, is Juliana Pena. I know people are going to be clamoring for a trilogy fight between Nunes and Pena, but I think that Pena needs to get one more victory before she's able to fight for a third time against Amanda Nunes. I think Amanda Nunes should be focusing her direction in fighting somebody of the ilk of somebody called Valentina Shevchenko. Okay, moving on. Opener of the main card was Umar Nurmagomedov versus Raoni Barcelos. Now, this is a fight that I had circled around because I figured that Umar Nurmagomedov, that man is going to be wearing gold at some point in the future of him being a 135-pounder. And the way that he ended up fighting Raoni Barcelos, all right, I think he opened originally on DraftKings as a minus 200 favorite. That thing ended up shooting up from last time I had checked as a minus 975 favorite. And you know what? In the beginning 2 minutes of the fight, I'm like, I don't see why, he is getting all this hype right now. I mean, I'm only saying this just because I know Raoni Barcelos is a very, very good 135er. And, Victor Henry, when he fought Jaime Barcelos, I mean, that's somebody who, my opinion, did very, very well. And I'm like, let's see how Umar Nurmagomedov is able to do against Jaime Barcelos. And not only he got the victory, but he was the first man to knock out Jaime Barcelos. And it was one of those things where he just threw a knee, he just threw a knee on purpose to get Jaime to flinch. He moved his head, and before he was able to plant his feet, Nurmagomedov just throws a quick left hook, bam, rattles the brain, puts Jaime Barcelos to sleep, out cold, stiff as a board, and that was a fight. I've never seen something like that before. I've never seen somebody knock out Jaime Barcelos. I've never seen anybody lay somebody out like that, out cold, and it was very, very interesting to see what Nurmagomedov's future going to be like. I mean, now knowing that Khabib isn't going to be coaching anymore, what is going to be the outlook on Umar's career? Who's he going to fight next? In my opinion, I think it should be somebody of the ilk of either Ricky Simon, who is a great wrestler, and I would love to see how that transpires, or put him against Merab Dvalishvili. All right, Merab isn't going to be fighting for a title anytime soon, as long as his friend Aljamain Sterling is holding the belt. And if Aljo's holding the belt, Merab is not going to fight for the belt. So might as well put either Ricky Simon or Merab. Merab can play gatekeeper, and him be the reason why a lot of these up and comers are not able to get a title shot, because they have to get through the wall that is Merab Dvalishvili. But yeah, guys, I mean, UFC Vegas 67, decent card, first fight of the new year, first fight of 2023. We had good fights in the prelims, like Jimmy Flick versus Charles Johnson. Johnson ends up getting the victory on that. But man, I think we just needed some fights. We got the fights that we wanted. We got the fights that we wanted to see, and we're able to progress more forward now, because going into next week is going to be the UFC is going back to Brazil, and the headliner is Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill for the vacant light heavyweight title. Co-main event, we're going to get the tetralogy of Davis and Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, part 4. Okay, yes, all right. I imagine maybe this might be the last time that they fight each other. I mean, who knows, all right? I mean, for all we know, it could end as a no contest, and they'll be forced to fight for a 5th time. We have Neil Magny versus Gilbert Burns. We have Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy. We also have Shogun. He's going to be going in for his final fight. Gelson Almeida, he's going to be fighting on the card. Terrence McKinney's going to be fighting on this card. So it's going to be a lot of good fights, to be looking forward to, with the first pay-per-view happening this Saturday in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Until then, guys, I am Flávio Oriana. Thank you for tuning in to Flávio Oriana's MMA show, and I will see you guys next time. Peace, guys, and have a good one. See ya.